on, I'd like to ask Angelica from Oregon in the United States to take over the presentation from here.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Deborah, and thank you for Felicity. That was so profound and beautiful, and matches very well what I will share. Okay. Oops. Okay, well, you can see, right? Here, full screen. Okay, so Deborah knows me because I recently wrote a book called Healing Complex Children with Homeopathy. And like Felicity mentioned, these children are very hard to work with, have so much complexity of issues in the family, so much, let's say, karma or ancestral baggage, that they have autism, autoimmune disease, parasites, issues with their development, and it's a pandemic. And in my practice, I said, I don't know how I'm going to help these kids, but my heart was compassionate. And I said, I have no idea what to do, but in my heart, I know what to do. And so there was that opening up to guidance as well, like Felicity said. But instead, I started actually muscle testing remedies, or I would feel in and I would close my eyes and I would allow a remedy to appear to me. Because in nature, we have so many things. We have plants, animals, minerals available to us. And then I would get answers. And then these answers helped the families. And then I found I can only go so far doing this myself. I have to empower the parents that I work with to do this for their own kids because the cases were so complex. And the intuition simplifies. We can even have children choose their own remedies, and if they do it from their heart, they can do it correctly and finding something that resonates with them. So intuition takes it to that other level, takes it above rationality, like Einstein said. No problem can be solved from the level of consciousness that created it. So if we're meeting the problem at the level of our ego, we're bump up against it, right? And so having faith in our intuition, we can find answers that simplify our process. So today is the equinox. Somebody mentioned that in the chat. And this talk is really about balance. Like the equinox is about balance. Balance is bringing back in the intuition and back in essence, the feminine that we have suppressed for millennia. So intuitive homeopathy, as I call it, does have a definition. Ian Watson defined it as prescribing from an immediate recognition or felt sense of what is needed without the intervention of the analytical mind. Okay, so what is this feeling of intuition? It's a feeling of truth. It's an energetic coherence. When we feel truth, when we feel something is right, we relax. Okay. Our body is in coherence, and we can use that feeling to feel into the path forward. We can use techniques like muscle testing and pendulum testing, or even understanding when our body feels truth. Maybe our lungs expand, we can breathe better, or maybe we giggle. So in classical homeopathy, we do use intuition. We choose remedies based on our cumulative experience, our ability to recognize patterns. But there's another form of intuition where we open up to information from something greater through a trust in a higher self, through connecting to the spirit of our clients, to connecting to some universal knowledge. And this is what Felicity does. And we may be guided to do something that we have to have complete trust in, or to a remedy we know nothing about. And I've been guided in my practice to many remedies that there are no materia medica for. For example, a rare disease, a nosode for a strange disease. I give it, there's no materia medica, and it helps. Okay. The intuitive path also requires the inner development of the practitioner, not just all the mental techniques and learning more and more materia medica, but getting out of our heads and managing our energy system coming into our bodies, meditating, praying even. And like people were mentioning in the chat box, it is heart-based. Intuition is a place that comes from us from love, right? And this is my favorite quote on intuition from a channeled book called Return of the Bird Tribes. And the quote says, "There is a movement of spirit that proceeds from your heart to greet the world with the clarity of perfect action. That moment is intuitive." So a spirit movement from the heart that greets the world with perfect action. That is your direct link with the source of life. Reason is designed to support but not lead your action. It is meant to implement the purposes of your heart, not determine them. Following your intuition will reconnect you with the awesome power of the universe, for all your action will be in harmony with life force. So this is what Felicity is doing. She's opening up to the universe and allowing life force to come through. I help parents by telling them to listen to their heart. I've heard too many parents upset because they listened to the experts and their child regressed. My job is to empower the parents to listen to their hearts and their intuition and to come back to themselves. And that's where the healing is. There's also an association between the feminine and intuition. Perhaps this is an aspect of evolution or biology that requires women to be intuitive. And we recognize that. But as a whole, we're afraid to be called quacks. We're afraid to be called charlatans by being open about our intuition. So since I've written this book, I've had all sorts of homeopaths come out of the closet and tell me, oh, I pendulum test too, or, you know, and it's something that we hide. Why is this? Well, this has been suppressed. There were burning of witches for millennia. Eckhart Tolle considers suppression of the feminine to be the greatest mistake of history. And he writes, the suppression of the feminine principle over the past 2,000 years has enabled the ego, or a masculine subpersonality, to gain supremacy over the collective human psyche. And this is what we're healing. And how can we rebalance homeopathy as a whole? to be more inclusive of the intuitive and the feminine. Actually, classical homeopathy explicitly states that you are not practicing homeopathy if you include applied kinesiology, pendulums, radionics, or Vol machines. Okay, so we want to be considered classical and expert. So we explicitly say we don't include intuitive tools. So homeopathy still wants to prove itself in a way. It's still a domination of the intellect there that maybe we need to work through, which is what we're doing in Quintessence, right? And we had Peter Chappell and this resonance, sound resonance coming through. Jill Turland is another amazing Australian homeopath who started working with a chiropractor using a pendulum. And she was guided with a pendulum to spell out the name of the remedy from the universe, and then to give them in high potencies, what she calls mega potencies, like 10 mm once a day. And she was able to heal spondylolisthesis, very deep structural issues, listening to her pendulum, guiding her with homeopathy. She has a really great book called Getting Back on Track. And her book came out in the 1990s, I believe, and now it's very popular. So now's the time for this. Okay. Swami Narayani, I don't know if you guys know about Narayani remedies. She was in India and she downloaded formulas, homeopathic formulas from the universe to help with her people who are in poverty. Chiropractors are regularly energetically testing homeopathics. So this can also, I feel like we can get, wow, intuition is everything, but we need to stay balanced. We can go towards the intuitive, and we can also use our rationality to keep us grounded. And we also want to stay neutral. We can get, in a way, overly spiritually inflated sometimes. We could get too wired. And homeopathy always brings us back center. We can improve our intuitive abilities. We can improve our homeopathic abilities when we can stay neutral and we can allow the right energy or homeopathic remedy to come to us. So this is even seen in Michal Yakir's plant columns. This is very intellectual. It's very advanced to see how she has organized plants according to their evolution. And she sees that the plants have evolved from the more feminine and watery place to the more masculine, egoic, egocentric place. And I took a class from Michal and I said, well, homeopaths even are afraid to share their intuitive side. Why is this? And she said, it's because all of culture has moved towards this masculine, egoic place. And homeopathy is just a part of that, like everything else is. Okay. She also mentions that there will be a column 7. So the columns proceed towards column 6. Column 7 will be the next evolution of plants. How will they evolve? And she said they will need to include the intuitive. They will need to include the universal. They will perhaps be more actinide in nature. So how do I bring this into my practice? Aspects of the divine feminine are egalitarianism, meaning I seek to empower and educate my clients, seeing them as an equal. And in fact, if they have to come to me always for their healing, that's an imbalance. I don't hold the power. I'm not attached to how they do. It is their process. So there's an egalitarianism that I bring in that is essentially educational. The divine feminine is about being embodied. Women, we have to be in our bodies. We have our cycles. We bear children. And we have to surrender as well. We have to learn to surrender to pain, to our emotions. And healing requires an embodiment. The sensation process, Sankaran sensation process, is an embodiment process. And when we're embodied, we connect more to the earth. We're more conscious of the earth. We can be more empathic and emotional and get out of our heads. If there was a remedy that I'd want to give to the field of homeopathy, it might be lycopodium or veratrum. In the sense that we can be too much in our heads and we have a God complex. We think, oh, we're the ones in charge of the healing. And if I can heal this patient, I feel special about myself. And we have to let go of that egoic aspect. Like Felicity said, she is so humble as not to condemn homeopathy. I'm less humble, and I don't mind saying it, that we need to come into our bodies. Women, from a feminine archetypal point of view, and this is definitely not a condemnation of the masculine, it's just more of my attempt to bring balance. Women are empiric. Empiric means we do what works. If we observe that it works, we will do it. And so the moms I work with, they say, homeopathy works, I'm going to do it. Oh, the pendulum testing works, I'm going to do it. There's no questioning a logical explanation of why. Okay, if it works on animals, great. I don't need an explanation why. So I've been teaching moms for the past 5 years homeopathy, and women love groups. They're communal. They love to study together. They love online Facebook groups. And that's the best thing about what I've done with my practice is I've put all of my clients who want to learn into groups, and then they help each other. So it's this grassroots movement. And ultimately, like we talked about with Felicity, this is about faith. And the crux is, what role does faith have? Interesting, I've started a ministry for my practice because legally it gives me protection to do what I'm doing. A ministry is a faith-based practice. Legally, I'm the most safe doing that. So when we have faith, it helps us. How do we have more faith? I personally feel every time I act on my faith and it works, it increases my faith, right? And so there's many ways that we practice faith with, water dosing, writing remedy names on paper, putting it over water. We can even imagine dropping the remedy name into somebody's crown chakra. And there's many things that we can do. We can pray to receive the remedies. And we question, well, what do we have faith in? Ultimately, do we have to have faith in the system of homeopathy? At its core, we have faith in love, that love is the universal essence that will guide us to the right answer. And we can have faith in guides as well. These can be angels, ascended masters, even extraterrestrials. And I know people who have gotten homeopathic guidance from what they believe is extraterrestrial guidance. But this can go off course. You can get, if you're not embodied, if you feel like it's coming from outside of you, it can lead to an imbalance in my experience. So the key is to stay embodied. Have faith and stay embodied. So some examples of women that I've worked with, this is Michelle, and what I treat a lot of is pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorders associated with strep. So essentially suppressed infections causing a broken immune system and causing all sorts of neurological issues, autism and tics and twitches. And she had a child who we healed with homeopathy, and she was very excited, blown away, wanted to become a homeopath, and got immediate guidance. She got the names of remedies coming to her without knowing what they were. So the remedy names would come, and then she would look them up. Okay. She writes, as my intuition grew, my clients' needs would change and my intuitive skills would change to meet their needs. And she said, I get to see on a daily basis that miracles exist. I get to be amazed by my clients. I get to see their commitment and determination. I am truly blessed. And with Michelle, I've worked with her to find how nosodes or diseases combine to create complex conditions in people. And there's no way we would have been able to do that except with intuition, with guidance. This is another intuitive mom, and her name's Natalie, and her child has large global developmental delay. There was a lot of ancestral trauma. Her family comes from the Dukobars, which are a spiritual Christian sect from Russia, and they were chased out of Russia. And she had, when a mother shows me that she has strong intuition, I say, go for it. If you want to choose the remedies, go for it. I'm just here to be your coach and your teacher, and we'll work through it together. And so she just started intuitively giving remedies to her daughter. I actually created a book of charts for muscle testing that was just lists of remedies and the main themes of the remedies. And I give this to the moms and said, you can go for it. And so she gave a lot of unusual remedies. She gave high C note, so a sound frequency. She gave cytomegalovirus. She gave chemotherapy, drug clear remedies to detox her child, even though her child had never had chemo, but she had been a cancer nurse. And so it seemed like maybe that had affected her. She told me Prilosec drug detox. I would have never had the materia medica for Prilosec drug detox, but she gave that, and her face changed. And she would give 30C 3 times a day and then move up to 200C. So with the potencies, we can shift our intentions of where we are directing that healing. She even had remedies that came up, and then she'd be unsure of why they would come up intuitively. She said sanguinaria came up and veratrum virid came up, but I don't know why. I think I must have stirred up some inflammation in her. And these are remedies that are good for inflammation, right? And so She also even had remedies come to her in dreams. She had the remedy acetylcholine and Remeron come to her in a dream and then asked, can I give this in 6C or 12C? And I said, yes. She's developing, in a way, our knowledge of remedies that we don't know a lot about. The dopamine sarcode, she said, when I use it just right, she loses her addiction to move. She's more calm, she's centered, she's soft, she's more responsive. Her addictive quality calms down. But if I try to test and give it too often, it gets confusing. So now I just dose it every 2 weeks. And when she gets it, she goes into calmness, which is amazing. And she writes, she is a teacher. She's here to show us the light. And that's what these moms are. These moms are the teachers to me. So there's many ways we can integrate intuition into an everyday practice. We can go straight into holding a cup of water and complete faith in the universe, which I will definitely do. But I still like to repertorize. I still love to use classic remedies, and I will repertorize like in MacRep, and then I will put my hand across the list of remedies without looking and say which one is right. And I will feel into the right remedy at the top of the list. I truly believe if we connect, one of the ways that I connect in is I always have people send a photo. And if we look at the photo of the person, we can connect to their energy and where our focus goes, our energy flows, and we have a connection. And or even just the name, we have the name of the person and we're focused on that, I can muscle test what potency, what frequency, what remedy. And when I'm connecting to that person's energy and their energy says yes, 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 each time, I won't have aggravations and I'll always have a matching resonance. Another way that I use intuition is I download formulas. And so there was a time when I was in a lot of meditation and all these formulas just came to me. And I had a lot of people at the time complaining of MTHFR, which is a genetic mutation that leads to poor detoxification. And I just asked, what formula can I make to help with MTHFR? And I got just very clear, give zinc sulf, sulfuric acid, ozone, raffinus, and scutellaria. And so I've been using that for my clients when that detox is difficult for them. And I've done it for many other things. I still love the single remedy. I still do that. And again, when we use our intuition, we can prescribe remedies we know very little about and then can learn about them. And so I'm giving a series of talks on whole health now in September and October and November on new nosodes. So I'm doing a talk on Bartonella. We don't have a lot of materia medica on Bartonella, but I've had at least 5 to 10 cases where my intuition said, you must give this nosode. And I can see things improve. And now I know what Bartonella is for. So there's so many ways we can use intuition, just even in the intake. If we open our heart up and our intuition, I'll actually use my fingers to muscle test as somebody is doing sensation process and they're closing their eyes. And it's like I'm following the charge. I'm following the energetic flow. And if I feel like, oh, I have to go into that, oh, there's something about the ancestral trauma here. And that says, yes, go into it. I will go into it. And of course, at the end of every case, we often have a list of remedies. that we think we could give, well, we can narrow that down by intuiting and saying, I have truly no idea which of these remedies will help. Guide me and show me what's the most important and what potency. So these moms I work with, I call them renegades. They're warriors. Many of them have had experience with medical injury, have challenges with their schools. They feel like their child is a canary in the mine shaft, meaning that we've been experimenting on the immune system and even our DNA, and that their children are there to show the evidence of what happens when we do that. And so with everything going on in the world right now with COVID, they feel like they're ahead of the curve. And they want to educate themselves as much as possible to be self-reliant. And they want to follow their instincts more than anything. So I really feel that this is a revolution, a grassroots revolution. Okay, so the other, and I won't take too long to talk about this, the other topic I just wanted to share about is, it relates to what Felicity said, is that when we are so totally open, we can allow the whole universe to flow through us. And we get to a point in our homeopathic practice where each remedy that we take, we clear a piece of our duality. And so how this happened to me was every time I had a client trigger something in me, and somebody asked this in Felicity's chat, how do you deal with the energy coming through and it not becoming yours? Is you have to recognize when the person's energy is connecting to you, what is it within you that allows it to stick? And so there's usually a remedy that you can take that can allow it to move. So I used to get personally sensitive if people didn't do well. And I realized that was Staphylos aureus in me, and I had to clear the Staphylos aureus. And then I was no longer so overly concerned about how my patients were doing. So this is a personal story, but I had a friend move into my house and put up 20 pictures of Ramana Maharshi. And he also put up a poster of Ramana's mountain that he sat in. And this friend sat and meditated for 5 hours a day with Ramana. And I didn't know anything about Ramana, but what happened to me was a direct energetic hit. And I had the self-inquiry that Ramana teaches come directly to me. So I'd wake up at night, not sleep, and say, who am I? And that's the essence of self-inquiry, which I realize is the essence of homeopathy. Who am I? And if we peel away those layers with homeopathy, we let go of all the limiting thoughts, we become nothing and we become everything. It's the essence of non-duality. And essentially, we can choose what to embody. We can clear ourselves completely and say, today I'm embodying Archangel Michael. Today I'm embodying Natmir. You know, we can actually take energies on. This is a beautiful quote that really represents non-duality. Wisdom tells me I am nothing. Love tells me I am everything. Between the two, my life flows. And to me, this is the essence of what Felicity shared, is that homeopathy opens us up to this, letting go of everything. And this is a time of letting go of all the books that tell us how to do things. We just have to open up. Which makes us question, is homeopathy itself as a field polarized? And I think that we can be too polarized as homeopaths. We can be too attached to our beliefs, which is an identity or egoic state. And this is the essence of how homeopathy was established as something that was in contrary to allopathy. So there was already a duality built in to homeopathy, right? So we have to get neutral, let go of our beliefs about homeopathy, and come into an intuitive, neutral place and let go of what we think is right. So when I connect to my intuition, there are many times when I hear homeopathy will not help. And I think we get so attached in homeopathy that I can always find a remedy for this thing. But there are times when we can't. And there are times that I've heard my intuition say, if you give a remedy to this person, it will disempower them. That their healing process requires you saying, you need nothing. So I did this once, I even took the payment for my appointment, and I sat and the woman shared all of this trauma. I could have given her Staph aureus, stramonium. I listened to my intuition, and my intuition said, you need nothing. And I told her, I was like, there's nothing I can give you that will help you. Only you can help you. And she went on to heal herself completely using brain retraining, and is still in connection with me and considers that a real change in her healing journey. So is homeopathy too polarized? Can we get too if we shout, anti-vaccines, we're in a medical culture war. Will homeopathy get squashed? It's possible that homeopathy, as we know it, could disappear. I think it's really important for us when we hear about what's going on in the world and we get into an ignatia or a causticum state because we're angry or the injustice, that we treat ourselves, because then we can rise above it and really work towards a solution that is not going to add to more duality. And I believe that there are ways that we can heal the duality that's created by COVID by bringing in the positive thought field. So what I do in my book and in my practice is I use a lot of no-sodes. And I use a lot of no-sodes because I work with very sick kids. And when I see no-sodes work, I see the family bring in a positive perspective. So with streptococcus, for example, there's a very strong feeling of, I want to attack myself. I hate myself. And when we heal with streptococcus, we come into self-love, more self-love. And I'm starting to do this with the COVID nosode and trying to understand what is it that COVID is bringing to us as a positive thought field. How can we bring balance to the duality? How can we build more coherence? So all the positives that we've gotten from COVID are turning off the media, gaining higher perspective, going inside, going internal, stepping out of the rat race. I'm sure all of you could add to this, but I really believe that intuition will help guide us create a new system going forward. And that intuition will, going inward and connecting to our intuition, will help us ride that higher wave coming onto the planet. Okay, this is about my last slide. So I got to work with a mom who's Russian and lives in California, and she's a geneticist. She's a scientist, and she's very, very intelligent, very intuitive. And she had a special needs child. And I gave curium, the center of the periodic table at the actinides. And I gave curium partly because of her sensation process. And I want to share what she said to me because it's so profound. She said, I see endless people. The whole world is aching. It's so sad. People have lost their minds. This is so heavy. Broken hearts, deformed bodies, twisted souls. This is what we have done to ourselves. I see this light that feeds the entire planet. Watching the day begin from space, the earth is being lit from light. But this light is not the sun. There is a blinding female light, a presence who sends this light to the earth. There is a purpose for that. It is finding all these tiny spots where it is so needed. She herself is feeding all of us who are so hungry. Traces of light and life go after her. Flowers bloom, birds sing like paradise. This is the way it's supposed to be. I see I am an American Indian standing in nowhere. Grass is burnt, sky is red. There is fire in the air. It is the day the earth died. I'm left alone. Nothing is alive for miles. Is it too late? But I see a baby inside a mother, and those delicate movements. There is still life. All has been burnt down, but she has a memory, and it comes out of her eyes. Light fills the space. She builds the world and repopulates with her light. How many times has this cycle happened? The world comes from her imagination. She can translate imagination into physical reality. Butterflies are everywhere. Life, the mother of life, has the guts to do this. It's profound to read. This is what I feel like we can connect to. So we talk about doing experiments in Quintessence Forum. And if you need to experiment with intuition, an easy way to do it is with sway testing. You can just imagine that your body is a pendulum and that your heart has a strong electromagnetic resonance that feels love and truth. And you can stand tall. And if you have a question or you have an item, should I take this? You can hold it to your heart. And it's very helpful for me to say, I have no idea what to do, meaning my mind doesn't know what to do here, but my heart knows. And if you swing forward, it means yes. If you swing back, it means no. You know, some people, you know, you have to maybe calibrate it by just saying, my name is Angelica, and you could swing forward, or my name is whatever. For some people, like I muscle test, but some people do better with pendulum testing. And pendulum testing, I have a friend who created these charts. So you can get pendulum testing charts, and they're sold on Etsy. I'm also going to be starting some intuitive homeopathy study groups. I don't feel a need to change classical homeopathy, just to introduce the topic of intuitive homeopathy and how helpful it can be. And again, I'm teaching on some nosodes in the fall. And that's it, but I can close with a meditation if you like, Deborah.
First, I would just really like to thank you, Angelica. This has just been so beautiful. You will close with a meditation, but I see a lot of the comments coming through, and they completely resonate with, I'm sure, certainly how I feel and how many of us feel. Now, Angelica mentioned at the beginning a book. I should have introduced her at that time, but I will introduce her afterward. Angelica sent me this book. I didn't know her. She sent me this book so I could review it for Spectrum. And I started reading it in the evening, and the next morning I was still reading it. I was absolutely fascinated with what she is bringing to homeopathy, her intuitive approach, and very much her work with nosodes, which she's not only talking about the physical aspects of nosodes, but also the what are the emotional aspects? How do you recognize each nosode in your patients? And we've had many conversations since then, and every time I'm very enthusiastic and very inspired. So thank you so much, Angelica, for being here with us.
Sure.
And I'm sure that I speak for many, many of you. I don't think we'll, perhaps we have time for some questions. And then at the very end, Angelica would like to finish with a meditation. So are there some questions coming through? Book is excellent. Yes, strongly recommended. I would say so. Excellent speech. I agree. It feels like you've said it all there, Angelica. And I find that it went very smoothly with what Felicity was saying. You were able to perhaps explain a little bit more. And the two of you just dovetailed very well. So I hope you get a chance to meet each other sometime.
Yes. Yes. You can treat, I often treat whole families, and I talk about that. And an important way that intuition helps is you can feel how an energy will move between people in a family. So the family is like a constellation or a lake of energy. And oftentimes if you want that energy to move, you have to treat everybody in the family. But again, it's so complex. You're working with super complex conditions and multiple people. And there's no way I could do it trying to think about it. I have to intuit and feel into everything, what's right, and get immediate. It should be easy. Intuition healing is meant to be effortless. Connecting to higher guidance should be immediate and effortless and flow, right? And so we shouldn't get stuck. And we get to the points where we get stuck in the case. I'm like, okay, what is the effortless solution? What's kind of cool is how I can see how a problem got created. So I'll have a child with autoimmune disorders and I'll work through layers, and then I'll see the vaccine that caused it. And it might be a family that doesn't recognize that a vaccine caused it. And then I give the remedy, and then they can see that it does shift, so you can almost see the layers of pathology a little more clearly that way. And same with ancestry. It's really important to feel into mother and father and the ancestry coming through. And these children are so sick because they've collected so much chronicity in themselves. And when you heal the child, it's like the energy moves back up the family line. It goes to the parents, and then you heal the parents, it goes to the grandparents. Then you can have this very healthy family unit, and everybody in the extended family can't handle them because they're just spazzing out, while the healthy family unit, is better. So, yeah. Yeah, I see online, and I developed a school, an intuitive homeopathy school, and I've seen 2 rounds of students with that, and now I have a small group practice. And I supervise, and a lot of my complex kids cases, I let other people take them, and then I supervise. Okay.
Speaking of complex kids, some of the cases that you, many of the cases that you present in your book, and that I'm sure that you work with every day, they're extremely complex. These are not just your burrito carbs. These are extremely complex situations, often requiring a series of remedies. So,
and there can be times when working with pure energy medicine, you know, I've worked on cases where I've worked with an exorcist, okay, where the child is literally like a possessed child. And I use remedies and it doesn't hold because the child is possessed by an energy so severe that nothing holds. And then I bring in another healer. And that is a channel, a pure channeling that needs to happen in that moment. And I've worked with exorcist people who literally just channel the energies. And I've worked with exorcist people who bring in Christ light. I work with exorcist people who use their inner eye to dislodge the energy. And it seems out there, but it overlaps with homeopathy. And there's times I've removed entities with homeopathy. There's times where I felt the energy of a dead grandmother attached to a child. And I said, grandmother, leave that child. You shouldn't be there. And then all the lights go out. Yeah. Pictures of nosodes. Yeah. The mental pictures of the nosodes, you know, I talk about, you know, the positive and the negative energy of the different, you know, so Lyme disease has a lot associated with kind of a victim parasite consciousness, and we talk about that, but then also bringing in the affirmations. And that's a big part of my practice too, is say you're going really deep, intuitive in the moment, and you're right in that precious depth of where the healing needs to happen. You can download words, you can download in that moment. A remedy name might come through and you say it and it shifts right in that moment, or even the description of a remedy. And so somebody asked me about racism. And so I treated a man from the South who was beaten. He was Black. He was like really suppressed his whole life. And we went deep in, and it was so profound. And he was reacting to cruciferae. He was reacting to any cauliflower. He had an allergy to cauliflower. And so he's deep in the sensation process. And I look up cauliflower remedies, brassicaceae, in Yakir's book. And it said bearing the cross. And he's deep in his sensation. And I say, it feels like you're bearing the cross, because I'm muscle testing this very strong. And he has this huge release because I've read the description of the remedy to him. So I think that can be very profound too, is the descriptions that we have of remedies on deep levels and giving that to the person. Yeah, nosodes. So it can be very intuitive. So I have, for example, a case of a child who just went from happy, phosphorusy, carcinosin type of child to raging, just absolute raging, sensory sensitive. And the mom thought she had an issue with strep, but when I'm muscle testing, I got Bartonella. And we got to the point where we were giving Bartonella 1M twice a day. And that plus carcinosin just cleared her, you know. But yeah, I think that if it's something very severe and it's like an energy that's wanting to push its way into that person, sometimes you have to push back quite strongly with your dosing and your potencies. And then there are times where homeopathy isn't enough. I mean, it's not like I can heal every case, and every case isn't meant to heal, right? Like Felicity said, sometimes we need more than homeopathy. Okay.
I'm sure there are lots more questions to come. Should we just take a deep breath and let this sink in? Let this, the energy of the evening with Felicity, with Angelica, with all of you. What I'm hearing, seeing coming through the chat is that there's a lot of resonance with this. Shall we just let this sink in as Angelica leads us through a short meditation.
Okay. All right, so just close your eyes. Everybody who's listening, just close your eyes. And even if you're listening later, close your eyes. And as we close our eyes, we turn inward. And take a deep breath in and out. And as we exhale, come into our heart. And come into the shared heart, which is the love that we all have as a group. And in this moment, I want you to imagine connecting to Quintessence Forum and the love that everybody in this group has. The desire to heal not just our clients, but the planet. And surrender to that love. In our minds, we have no idea what to do. The problems of the world are too complex, too big. And just feeling into our hearts, feeling into the love of this group. And really grounding it. Imagine our group like a tree rooted, because it's important to ground that energy. Allowing ourselves as a group to be guided. We surrender what we think we know, and we allow ourselves to be guided forward. With this Glasgow wake-up call. And in this field, we can imagine all the people listening to that resonance. In this field, we can set the intention that this resonance will be a powerful wave to heal the world. We can set the intention in this moment that our practices, our lives will evolve and let go of all of the old patterns that no longer serve us, so that we can upgrade to what will serve us: love, faith. Imagining a better earth, an earth that is healing. Imagining a beautiful future for our children. Imagining children connected to the earth and nature. And in this heart field, we feel so much. And just allow that feeling to move. Be moved by that emotion. Don't fear it. In my heart, I will always be guided in what to do. And let's just close with thank you, with gratitude. Gratitude for the organization, for being united all across the world for this moment. Gratitude for the intentions that we just set coming into reality. And take a deep breath in and out. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you. It's a powerful group. Thank you.
Powerful women, you and Felicity. And thank you, Vladimir, as well. So I wish you all well, and I hope to see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Thank you to the
Thank you, Vladimir.
translators.
Thank you to all participants.
Wendy, thank you for translating. It's big work.
It was feminine symposium.
Okay. Thank you also to all participants and to Angelica and Felicity. I would like to invite all participants to the next symposium, which will be 20th October with Mark Henry. He's a professor, scientist from Strasbourg, from France, and he has very deep insights into essence of reality and of water. So it will be probably the opposite of the present symposium. It will be the men's vision of the world, but we need the both to be in harmony.